Thanks for joining us and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Periodically, we'll bring you true stories of angelic encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. When we come back, we'll begin our next episode. Hello and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Today, Stan Johnson's going to cover 10 new prophetic headlines he's just received that correlate much of what he's been covering and what we've been covering here for the last couple of years. Now, I can't personally guarantee these prophecies, dreams, visions that people are having are going to come to pass. However, I think they're very interesting. I think they do warn us of the future. And that's what this podcast is all about. So here now is Stan Johnson with 10 new prophetic headlines.
Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I think this is going to be one of the most important broadcasts we have had in many, many years. I am going to encourage you to send this out to all of your friends. You need not worry about whether this is accurate because everything in this broadcast is backed up with anywhere from 3 to 15 different witnesses. What are we talking about? I think it's the most important information we've had in a long time. I'm calling it urgent. 10 new prophetic headlines. 10 new prophetic headlines. Urgent, urgent, urgent. Send this out to all your friends. You will not be disappointed. So this comes to us from Chris Reed. He had a dream 3/25/22. Now I'm just going to read through it at first, and then we're going to take some time and go through it word for word. An unknown man dressed in a black suit tore a $50 bill in front of me, in 3 stages representing the 50 United States. Random people began handing me newspapers with headlines. I remember exactly what they said. The U.S. dollar drops 30% in value, and the subtitle was, Middle Eastern Oil Strikes Deal with China instead of the U.S. Now, you folks have been following Prophecy Club for a long time. You're going, huh? We've been talking about that. Yes, we've been talking about all of this for a long time, some of it going back 12 years. We'll talk about it. The Perfect Storm. Subtitle, Inflation Reaches a New High. Food shortage crisis as wheat and bread imports are at a stalemate. Riots and civil unrest as citizens demand entitlement checks. Yes, I know that was another one. We've been talking about that too. Yes, I know. We'll get there. Then the man dressed in black appeared and tore a $50 bill in half. An earthquake happened under my feet. Another person handed me a newspaper headline. Israeli and Palestinian two-state solution reached. I know. Your mouth is hanging open. You got to send this out to all your friends. Another headline. Major earthquake hits the middle of the U.S. Then the man in the black took the rest of the $50 bill and started tearing it into smaller pieces one by one. Then another person handed me another headline. America in pieces. Subtitle, More states secede from the nation in rebellion to the federal government. U.S. military takes charge as uncertainty looms over the federal government. Then the man in black took out another new dollar bill, but it was like a cell phone. Somehow it was like a cell phone and a $1 bill at the same time. It looked like a $1 bill, but I did see George Washington's face on it. Another newspaper read, New currency for a renewed nation. I know. You folks have been following Prophecy Club for a long time. You're jumping up, down, saying, we knew this was coming. We've been talking about this for a long time. Yes, I know. That's the reason you got to send this out to all your friends. You need to send this to your pastor. And the more sleepy they are, the more they need to see this. Go on. Final headline, Simplicity Restored as Americans begin to grow their own food again. Now let's dig into it. So without all the explanation, let's look at just the headlines. U.S. dollar drops 30% in value. Subtitle, Middle Eastern oil strikes deal with China instead of the U.S. 2. The Perfect Storm, subtitled, Inflation Reaches a New High. 3. Food shortage crisis as wheat and bread imports are at a stalemate. 4. Riots and civil unrest and citizens demand entitlement checks. An earthquake happened under my feet. 5. And I think 5 or 6 are tied together. Israeli and Palestinian two-state solution reached. Major earthquake hits the middle of the U.S. 7. America in pieces, subtitle, More states secede from the nation in rebellion to the federal government. 8. U.S. military takes charge as uncertainty looms over the federal government. 9. A new dollar bill, like a cell phone, saw George Washington's face on it, and new currency for a renewed nation. 10. Simplicity restored as Americans begin to grow their own food again. Now, what's it saying? Let's dig in a little deeper. So we said that the $50 bill, or America's fall, was in 3 stages. First is U.S. dollar drops 30% in value. And I'm going to show you in just a minute where these were actually prophesied. Now, if I were to take all of the prophecy, it would probably take me, 5 hours to go through them. I can't go through them. So I'm just going to show you 1 or 2 of each one of them here. Matter of fact, let's go on and go to that right now. First of all, where did it say, other prophecies say of the past, that the dollar would drop 30%? Didn't say 10%, didn't say 50%, didn't say 70%. Where specifically was the prophecy that said the dollar drops 30% in value? That's very specific. Here it is. Maurice Sklar, December 1, 2011. The American dollar is about to lose 30% more of its present value. Now, you can pause it and you can read the rest of that, but it's a long prophecy, but that's the point of it. Now, let's go on to the next one. Middle Eastern oil strikes deal with China instead of the U.S. We've been talking about that one recently, too. Here it is. We're specifically looking for something in the Middle East that will strike an oil with China. Some kind of a deal. Here it is. July 10. Now, this is Shane Warren. He came and made a DVD with Prophecy Club in 2012 called Judgment Storm and Revival. However, the vision he had was actually in 2010. So this is actually 12 years old. Now, if you read, it would be very good for you to pause and stop and read all of that. But I'm going to jump down to just the pink area. Middle East Dream. He said, I saw India, Syria, Indonesia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, or that's the Middle East, Pakistan, Egypt, Russia, China. These world leaders were discussing how to devalue the dollar. Here it is, by buying oil in another currency. We've known about this for 12 years. We've been talking about it for 12 years. Here it is in the headlines. There's more. Now let's go to The Perfect Storm, subtitled, Inflation Reaches a New High. Okay, we haven't seen inflation like this in, 20 years, 25 years. Here it is. Now, I've got a lot of these. Matter of fact, I think I've got 12 or 14. I lose count now. Various ones saying the same thing. So what I'm saying here, we got lots of it, okay? David Phillips, 7/24/2021, in a dream. The waitress said they accidentally gave us the wrong menu, saying food should be more expensive. That's inflation. That's what the prophecy is here, inflation. But since it was their mistake, they would go ahead and honor the lower prices. So we were getting better prices. So she also said they were low on some food items. So not only had inflation gone up, but there was a food shortage. Then down in the third paragraph, everything went dark. The restaurant announced they were closing right now immediately, and they were told, everyone please stand and walk out. Right now, in other words, when this hits, it hits hard and fast. It's not a slow, gradual fall. It is an overnight fall. Let's go on to the next one. Also, he said, food shortage crisis as wheat and bread imports are at a stalemate. Food shortage crisis as wheat and bread imports are at a stalemate. Summarized from radio, February 26, 2020, Byron Searle. I asked what was going on. The local National Guard were planning martial law ordering, advising everyone that would have to stay in their homes. He told me that nearly all of the store shelves were empty of food, water, and other goods. He said that the people in the stores were acting crazed, like rabid animals, throwing cans of food at each other and stealing each other's carts. Now, that's a long one. I'm not going to read all of it. Here's another one. Jason Meeks, 5/11/2021. Stan and I and other people were at the back of a grocery store. The group walked to the back of the main store to purchase some Tang, which should have cost $1, but now is $5.99. We saw all the prices of the goods on the shelves were at least 30 to 40% higher than last week. Again, all of this happens very suddenly. Many of them were cleaned out, non-perishable food. They were even taking dog food. But let's go on. Here's another one, January 3rd, 2021. Leslie in this dream saw that there was people at an amusement park. They were all having fun. Then all of a sudden, there's the key word, all of a sudden, very, very hungry. They got very, very hungry. And the restaurants and all the food availability was gone. Happens apparently very quickly. They were not able to get the food at the amusement park, so they were leaving in droves. When they left without their shoes. They were all barefoot and very hungry, meaning that's just shows you the financial position that people are in. They were all begging for food, begging for even one piece of bread. On to another one, January 20th, 2022. Bonnie Jones said she heard she was in sound sleep. She was woke up by the words, there's going to be a downfall of the economy. Purchase non-perishable foods now. How many of these we have to hear? Now, let's go to the next point. Point number 4, riots and civil unrest as citizens demand entitlement checks. Look at that word, entitlement. So, civil unrest, riots, then there were people demanding entitlement checks, then an earthquake happened under his feet. Now, I think the reason that happened that way is the Lord is trying to tell us when the massive earthquake up the New Madrid Fault, up the center of the country happens. Meaning, when we see riots, civil unrest, people screaming they want their entitlement checks, that's when the New Madrid Fault happened, the big earthquake. Here's the proof of it. July 10, 2012, again, it happened in 2012 or 2010. But what I want to show you here is you go down to the bottom. The devaluing of the dollar caused major rioting in the streets, just like what it says here. I saw riots in the major cities. On their signs were written, give us our entitlements, give us our entitlements. This was 2010. Here it is in 2022. 12 years before, this guy was shown the very word entitlement. We don't use that word entitlement. That's God. Okay, so he's warning us if we can just listen.
We'll be right back with more after this message. Hello again, this is The Watchman. Please join us each week for an exciting and inspirational podcast dealing with angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. So tune in each week and share it with your friends. After all, they could use a little inspiration in their life, too. That's the Watchman on the Wall podcast, and now you can find us on YouTube. We return now to part 2 of our podcast with Stan Johnson and 10 new prophetic headlines.
Number 5, Israeli-Palestinian two-state solution and a major earthquake hits the middle of the U.S. While there are two different headlines, I think they're possibly only a day apart. Here's why I say that. April 15, 2002, my wife, Prophet Leslie, had a dream. The Lord spoke to her and said, and this is a long dream, which I'm just going to summarize, that Arafat would die in the hospital. Well, April 15, 2002, he wasn't even allowed outside of his compound. So to put that prophecy out to all of our best supporters, put on radio every place, that was a very risky thing. But 2 years later, I've got it here, 11/11/04 at 3:30 a.m., just like she was told, Arafat died in the hospital. So the first part of that dream has come to pass, confirming the rest of it's accurate. She was also shown the Palestinians will be given a state, and oil will be discovered in Israel. The oil will be used to strengthen Israel's military, and Israel and America will go against most of the rest of Islam for World War III. Then, here's the big point. April 22, 2006. I've covered this many times. So she heard in the night, Omer ushers in Palestinian state. By the way, this is not the order she heard them in. This is the order I think that they will happen. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. So America splits Israel. Then, second headline, catastrophe hits America. Now, I had these confirmed because June 14th of 2008, I was out on a speaking tour, 18 cities. After I spoke in Amarillo that night, the Lord spoke to me. I'm not going to cover all of it. But he showed me visions of Leslie actually standing in front of our fireplace, holding up various newspapers from all over the world with these specific headlines. So I can confirm them as well as Leslie. So these are confirmed prophecies too. These are not warnings. These are prophecies. This will happen. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Catastrophe hits America. Meaning, when we split Israel, God is going to split America. 3, one of America's greatest times of need. 4, Israel refuses help to America. 5, Israel is attacked. America sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. And then the final one, she said, people became mad at the United States, the government, the Jews, the Muslims. They're just mad all over. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri Duduman, the fall of America would start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. We'll get to that in a second. Then, back in 1997, November, Pastor Dan Bowler was on a 45-city speaking tour for Prophecy Club, I believe it was. And in the talk called Coming Judgment on America, which you can watch instantly at watchprophecyclub.com. You can watch a lot of these, watchprophecyclub.com instantly. He says, the Lord spoke to me and said, what you've just heard are the platelets of the earth shifting in the central part of the United States. There will be mercy before this judgment earthquake. When this happens, you will know that the big earthquake you prophesied will split this nation right down the middle. If they split Jerusalem, it will happen. Now, many of the prophecies have said we are going to split Jerusalem. When we split Jerusalem, God splits America, you see. That's the reason these two go together. Omer ushers in Palestinian state and catastrophe hits America. Those two there go together. Also, Prophet Selvarich said, the vision came which the angel showed me that the U.S. would turn against Israel and force Israel to split Jerusalem, giving the Palestinians a state. He saw a map of the United States, and the angel with a long sword stabbed the center of the map, saying, you split my land, now I will split yours. Also, Shane Warren was told exactly the same thing, too. All right, now let's go on to the next one. The prophecy says, America in pieces. The subtitle was, more states secede from the nation in rebellion to the federal government. I'm going to also read the next one because it kind of goes into the same picture. U.S. military takes charge as uncertainty looms over the federal government. My opinion, that's the internal revolution that this man spoke of, Dimitri Duduman. The angel came to him and said, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries will attack and defeat America in 1 day and 1 hour, so great riches will come to naught. Then God will raise up China, Japan, and many of the nations. They'll go against the Russians. They'll defeat the Russians. They'll back the Russians to the gates of Paris where they sign a peace treaty, but they make the Russians their leader. Then with all the world as the leader as the Russians, they got in to attack Israel. Israel can't count on the help of the Jews in America, so she cries for Messiah. Jesus returns in the clouds and defeats the army. That's Armageddon. Now let's go on to the final one. The new dollar bill, like a cell phone with George Washington's face on it, a new currency for a renewed nation. In my book, Miss the Mark, which you can get at prophecyclub.com, I spent an entire chapter explaining the QFS system, how the new system is going to go away from coins, going away from paper money, and we're all going to this, the cell phone. I've been talking about this for what, 3 years now? That we're going to a new QFS, a new quantum financial system, a digital system based upon a new cell phone that is not out yet. Reportedly, they already have 7 billion of them already made, all ready to go. And this cell phone links to the Starlink satellites, which they are currently putting up right now, so that it's all digital. The face is always taking your face print, your fingerprint. It's always recording your voice. It's 100% accurate. You cannot break into someone else's bank account. And that's what is all happening. All of this is part of it. That's the reason it was very interesting that he saw a new dollar bill like a cell phone with George Washington's face on it. You couldn't come up with a better way to explain it. Is that prophesied? Oh, yes, you better know it is. Charles Turner, April 2021. I had a vision. I was in a room and heard a loud rumbling under my feet and rolling behind me. On the wall in front of me began to appear numbers. The numbers were being calculated. They contained algebra and geometry. I saw cash dropping into an abyss type of place. There was no end to it. Cash was disappearing into darkness. I'll say that again. Listen carefully. Cash, in other words, coins and paper, going away. Cash was disappearing into darkness. I saw dollars begin to start fading on each side of the point to where you couldn't see the numbers on the bills. But the numbers continued to fade away. I was made to know, listen carefully, the dollar is going away, and a cashless system of digital numbers was going to be our new medium of exchange. Then I heard the Lord say the word digital. Again, coins and paper are becoming digital. Digital cell phones. I'm telling you, that's the new financial system, which will be the mark of the beast system. I said, oh my God, the cash is fading away and the digital is coming in as the new domain. Here's another one. This is from Terry Bennett. He said, period one will be from 2008 to 2015. He said, the United States would no longer be the number one power economically and militarily. 2008 would be the beginning of economic sorrows, just like Maurice Sklar said, and just like this other guy said too. In our nation and the world, during this time, great economic wealth of the United States would be neutralized. The military power of the United States would be greatly diminished. The economic problems would be the primary cause of the military power being weakened. There will be a change, listen carefully, a change in the U.S. currency. A different currency is going to come, at least one, that will entail us no longer being the reserve currency of the world. That is happening as of August 24th. The Saudis made a deal with the Russians for the Russians to then protect Saudi, so they no longer have to sell their crude oil in dollars as they have been doing since 1974. Means that the dollar is no longer the reserve currency of the world. So all of the other countries used to have extra dollars on hand to buy crude oil, now no longer need them. Any day now we will see nations begin to sell off their dollars. The dollar is going to become worthless, as Shane Warren saw it, worthless as leaves blowing in the wind. A change in the U.S. currency, no longer becoming the reserve currency of the world, and that's what this is saying. Now let's talk about that new financial system. It's called, according to finalwakeupcall.info, which I do not recommend, the quantum financial system is a megalithic financial structure that's been given to mankind by the heavens, or demons. It stands alone as the most advanced financial system that anyone could imagine. This technology has no peer on earth at the present time. It is a magnificent system designed to take on the magnitude of accounting needed to balance every financial transaction in the world in real time. Remember, he says, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on the right hand and the forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark in the name of the beast or the number of his name. This is that system. The QFS is housed in the mega quantum consciousness. Often called a computer, this quantum consciousness is divine consciousness, or from a demon, that is being made available for us in this third dimension. The tools it brings are necessary to usher in the golden age of mankind. The new monetary system known as the QFS will end the Moloch and Baal worshippers of Cabal's corruption, usury, and manipulation within the banking industry. The QFS is ready for implementation. This new QFS system is set to be run on a quantum, listen to this, quantum computer based on an orbiting satellite system. I'm telling you, it's going to be cell phone, just like he said here, cell phone linked into all of the satellites, all of the Starlink satellites are putting up right now. The QFS technology corresponds to this new systems being provided by benevolent galactics, or what they call aliens, or what we Christians call demons. The key is to implement limitations that would prevent corrupted banksters from gaining significant profits. Crooked banksters are no longer in charge of any funds with the QFS. paper money and banks will eventually disappear. I better read that again. Paper money and banks will eventually disappear. Paper money and banks disappearing? Banks disappearing? Get a hold of that. Though coinage will remain as a safeguard against corruption. I don't believe that. Coinage is going to go. I disagree with him there. The cabal assets are to be seized by the alliance and redistributed to benefit humanity. Alliance theoreticians have been working on a daily basis to determine the timing of the RV or this new change. So let's go to the last thing that I do not have any other confirmations on. Of these 10 newspaper headlines, this is the only one that I do not have confirmation on. Simply restored as Americans begin to grow their own food again. That's the only prophecy I have that says that. All of the rest of them are from 3 to 15 different people that verify every word of it. So my suggestion to you right now would be to grab your piece of paper and your pencil and write those down. These are all confirmed. It also gives us an idea of when some things are going to happen and the order of some things are going to happen. Now, there is one good thing in here. I did not see anything that spoke of a suitcase nuke, and we've all been praying that those 35 suitcase nukes that are hidden all across America would be found, dismantled, and destroyed, or better yet, used to destroy up the underground Moloch and Baal worshipers and their evil high technology they got from the demons. So we will see how that all works. But anyway, God has given us warnings. 9 of these 10 prophecies have been given to us previously. Thank you, Lord.
Hello again, this is The Watchman. Please join us on our new video channel called Encounters from Beyond the Veil. It's the same exciting content as our audio podcast, but in a shorter, but yet a video format. Also, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our episodes. That's Encounters from Beyond the Veil, exclusively found on YouTube.
Well, thanks again for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Any comments or suggestions you may have, you can send to thewatchmanonthewall2020@gmail.com. We encourage you to subscribe so you'll always be notified of our future episodes. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Watchman on the Wall podcast.